Hey, I am back. Okay, so I was experiencing technical difficulties because of load shedding, but I think this one is it. This is the take. So, uh, it's been a really challenging week. My birthday week, imagine, and yeah, it's been intense, man. Look, I have bags under my eyes. uh, wow. Anyway, kind of emotional. So, but yeah, I'll be okay. So, growing up, I never thought of myself as black, but one thing that was distinct was that I had Christian principles. I mean, I did grow up in a Christian household, and the thing of being a good human being was in the forefront of me growing up. You know, whatever you do, and paying respect, and like it went so much that we wouldn't even say the word God. It was our Father in heaven, and you never pointed up at the sky because I mean that was the understanding of heaven and whatever. But growing up, I never I keep going back to my thoughts and like when and where, but it's never there. I never saw myself as black. I never had an understanding of what it is to be black. And as I grew, it was more about me, what I was comfortable with, what I wanted, and everything was possible. But in the forefront was the dependency of dependency in God, and everything that you want to materialize, it had to be the will of God if you wanted that for you. And when I came to study film, it was never a direct thing. And I think that's why most of us think it's just a matter of us being too sensitive or whatever. It's kind of like there were these systems in place, and if you were not aware of them, you would be made uncomfortable in a way. Whether you were going out to sit and have dinner at a restaurant, whether you were going to the cinema, whether you were at school, there's just the systems that were put in place that if you act too carefree or too much of yourself, then you will be made to feel uncomfortable in that space and you kind of have to retreat. And this went on, and as I joined the film industry, because I'm a film worker, I work in the industry, it is one of the most unregulated, mainly because it's private sector. And the other reason is that it generates a lot of money, like hundreds of millions annually. And it's one of those things that if you have a complaint, like you can't take it up with someone and something is going to get done, because at the end of the day, it's the bottom line, and it's about making profit, and it's about making sure that the people at the top continue eating, and there's no middle ground, because for that system to function, there must be desperate and frustrated workers down here. And it shone so brightly in this past week, because working in the film industry, as much as there's the glamour side that people see on screen, in the background, it's the workers, and it's intense, it's frustrating, it's long hours, and you kind of have to admit at one point that you do not have a life outside the contract that you have until you finish that job. And over time, you do get disgruntled because it kind of feels like your efforts are not being seen. So this Friday was my birthday, and on my birthday, I'm not sure if it's something that I willingly created but I've been noticing it for the past couple of years that on my birthday, at any point in time, I have to reflect. I have to reflect on the past year, my growth, how much I've shifted, and also set boundaries and set goals for the new year ahead. So on Friday, this is what I was doing with most of my morning amongst the many other things I was doing. But one thing that lingered was the realization of being the other. So Bell Hooks has this book called Black Looks, Race and Representation. I love that book. And on its second chapter, she has an essay on eating the other. So basically, it's the gist of it from my point of view is that every other race has this freedom of expression, whether they want to explore another race, they want to explore themselves, want to find themselves and be whatever they want to be. They can create, they can manifest, and they can be whomever they want to be. But we feel the black race is restricted in this because any time you actually want to express yourself, it makes another race uncomfortable to a point that you retreat, which is kind of like the setup in Cape Town. The more you express yourself, the uneasy other people feel, and you kind of made to feel that, you know what, maybe this is not the right space for me. But as I'm going through the self-care journey, I'm understanding that there are places and there are times that people will feel threatened by your growth and by the person that you are, and they will make you feel uncomfortable. So it's up to you whether you want to retreat or you want to soldier on, because at the forefront of these people feeling uncomfortable, there are underlying factors. It could be a personal factor or it could be their indoctrination. So if you are going to abide by other people's wills, it will leave you frustrated and forever lacking. And this week has been such a week that things would be said, but you find there is no resolution. But from the mere speaking, people kind of like, oh, okay, it's done. We can move on. But you find like, wait a minute, but I never got a chance to express myself and express how I feel about this. And there was no resolution that was made. And it creates a buildup. And I saw that I was actually emotionally imbalanced and I was heading to a meltdown. But of course, I went back to my training and I focused my thoughts and I got back to remembering what is it that I want. But not a lot of us are that fortunate. And it's okay to be in a setting that you are uncomfortable with. And it's okay when you see that people are uncomfortable with what you have to say or what you're doing, to keep going, because at the end of the day, it's a reflection of you. And at the end of the day, it's about what you want to bring across. And self-discovery, as much as it is your thing, it is affected by the world. And your progress will be affected by the world. So you must make sure that the tools that you have and the foundation that you're laying for yourself in order to have that life that you want to live, in order for you to have that happiness that you want to build for yourself, it will be tested when you outside there in the world, because not everyone has the same understanding that you do, and not everyone has the same education that you have. And this reminds me of one such incident where Sadhguru says that there is no remedy for life and there is no solution for life. It is up to you what you want to make of it. It's similarly when you are in a room with 500 people, you give them a recipe for soup. Once that soup is done, you will have 500 versions of soup with the same ingredients. Such is life. We are given this life. It's up to you to make it what you want. It's up to you to have whatever you see fit for yourself, or whatever you believe you deserve. And no matter what other people say, it's up to you to let that information in. And most of the time we make a habit of listening to other people's wills for ourselves, and we end up frustrated because what they have been saying tends to manifest, because we do not have an understanding of what we want from life. We do not have an idea of how to go about what we want to gain. And other people tend to have a lot of influence, and that causes a lot of build-up, that causes a lot of frustration. And it's okay to express yourself when you're unhappy with something. Doesn't matter the environment. If it says now, okay, you know what, this I've had enough of, it's okay. Get up and say, listen, I've had enough of this. I'm walking away, and it's within my right. For the longest time, I've been struggling with that. It's been a challenge for me, because once I see that a lot of people are kind of feeling uncomfortable with what I have to say, or with what I'm doing, because of me bringing the peace into a space, I walk away and not say anything. But sometimes it's good to make people feel uncomfortable, because you know where you want to go and you know what you want to do. And this week has actually showed me that I must actually be in that space of being uncomfortable, because if the next person can express themselves freely, why can't I? If the next person has that power to say whatever, why can't I? If we are the same beings in the same space, why can't we both have the freedom of expression? Why can't we both have the same space to say what we want and come to a resolution? Because this is the thing with abundance. It's not only when you are all alone in a private space, it's everywhere you are. Every space you take up, there is abundance in this universe, and it's in magnitudes. And this idea of people can have and others can't have, it's something that we've created. It's a school that we've created so that people are okay with having less than nothing, while other people live in abundance. And it's not a right way of living. It's not the correct system of living. Everyone has access to abundance, and everyone has access to everything that they wish upon themselves, and everything that they have willed upon themselves, and everything that they aim to manifest upon themselves. Everyone has that abundance. And it's a matter of exercising that mindset of, you know what, I'm uncomfortable because I'm not used to it. It's not that it's not for me. It's not that I'm undeserving. Yes, I'm uncomfortable in this space, but because I'm not used to it. If I keep exercising that will, and if I keep exercising that strength, it will become a reflex. And that's what we're aiming towards. You are aiming towards building yourself into this better version that you are destined to be, to this better version that you want to manifest within yourself. And we find out sometimes our life is not coming together as we want because we are not aligned. As much as We believe in the Holy Trinity, of which the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It goes with us as well, because we are the mind, the soul, and the body. And if we cannot align those three elements in our favor and be at a balance, we forever fall out of sync with what is destined for us. We fall out of sync and we succumb to other people's pressure, the pressure that is being inflicted. Because the system that we are under, it's a school of thought, an idea that people have created that in order for me to be happy, one must suffer. In order for me to have, one must not have. So if you are going to abide with that, you're going to meet a lot of hurdles, and you are not going to be in sync with the person that you are destined to be. And it's going to create a lot of frustration. And that's when other people's influence start entering into your life. That's when other people's will start affecting the way you are living. And it actually brought a lot of light into what I was going through this past week. And I know a couple of people were feeling the same thing with me, because it addressed some of the things that we thought were happening, but had no evidence of seeing that were happening. And one thing that I took out of this week was it's okay to be uncomfortable, because I know I'm entering an element or a space that I'm not used to. So whether it's expressing myself or acting accordingly, if I'm not used to that, I'm not sure what's right for me. I'm not sure what's not right for me. So I have to experience it. And that's when being uncomfortable sits in. Because when you have not experienced something and you're not sure how to go about it, you become uncomfortable until you actually have that reflex within you. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is the way to go. And this week has been that. Has been coming to my own as this person that I am, and entering into spaces that are not necessarily created for me, but they are ordained for me, because that's where my destiny is directing me. So when I was uncomfortable in a space at first, it was a shock to my system, but I learned quickly that I must continue. I must continue past that being uncomfortable. If I can overcome my fear of being in a space, being uncomfortable is just a small element that I just need to overcome in order for me to be settled. And for you, this week, going to this week, just know that when you are uncomfortable in a space, doesn't mean that you don't belong there. It just means you need to get used to, and you need to get accustomed to what is being presented to you. And if it's something that is strongly uncomfortable and you know that doesn't align with you, it's okay to say, listen, I'm uncomfortable with this and I do not want it. I do not want it in my space, and I do not want it in my life. It is okay. Such is freedom of expression. You learn what you want from life, and you take what you want to take, and you leave what you see is not for you. And it's okay. And that is okay, because it is within your right. And in the spirit of the universe of abundance, you are the one that decides what you want and what you do not want, because everything is open to you. Everything is yours to take, but not everything will benefit you. And this is the distinction that we need to make. So as you go into this week, live your best life. Be the version of yourself that you want to be. Let no one tell you otherwise. Have an awesome, awesome day.